What would you do if you saw a ghost? The veil is thin right now. It is the season. We're in late October, and truly, lost spirits are stirring. That's a fact. That's happening. Now, contrary to what you see in paranormal investigations, I can't tolerate those, or things like other Hollywood dramas, TV shows, and movies and stuff. There isn't anything to fear if you see a ghost or an entity of some kind. And here's the thing, what you do if you see a ghost or some kind of non-physical entity, believe it or not, even some mediums get this wrong. So, Carson Doherty is here with me today, and we're going to be talking about crossing over spirits and how truth and love dissolves whatever it is that fear would sustain. This is Charmed Life Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Charmed Life Podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. Welcome to this episode. This is going to be so fun. It is a topic that everyone is pretty much interested in, especially if you're checking out spiritual podcasts, spiritual YouTube channels. We're going to talk about crossing over spirits. Now, this came into my awareness this season because we are in the liminal time of autumn, and those liminal times actually truly do have a thinned veil. And what a thinned veil means is that the living and the beyond have more of a communication. And I was thinking about this as a podcast subject because a lot of people don't understand what you're meant to do if you come in contact with a ghost. Now, specifically a ghost is what I'm talking about here, but anything else that would be like a dark energy, a dark entity. And sometimes those are one and the same. Sometimes a person who is a discarnate person can have a lot of fear and a lot of darkness. So what a discarnate or what a ghost is, it is really a person without a body. That's my birdie. I love that. It's a person without a body. Come here, Ali. She has a little body. She has wings and everything. So it's a person without a body, and it is it's someone. Honestly, you and I are going to be ghosts for at least a moment. When we release this physical body, there will be a time when you haven't crossed over yet, and you will have a moment of being a ghost. It is like having exactly this consciousness, this identity, all of the learning that you have, but not a body. So the thing that this discarnate entity, this former human needs to do is move into the light, and everybody's heard about that. What we do not want to do is negotiate with the ghost spirit. We need to recognize that they are lost and that they need our help to move on. Now, there's one of two things you could do. The main thing you want to keep in mind is we want to help them to move on into the light. The second thing is you also can just have them, you can excuse them. You do not have to experience them anymore, because in the physical realm, you have absolute sovereignty as to what you experience in your awareness. And that means even internally, right? Don't I have management over my thoughts, my emotions, and my fears? Carson, you can weigh in on this as a hypnotherapist and an intuitive. Tell me about, even though it doesn't always feel like it, we actually can manage our thoughts and feelings, right?
It's the only thing we should be doing. The most important thing we should be doing. The only thing we have control of.
Yeah.
Is our state.
Right, our state. And so this enters into the people may be like, well, what are you talking about here? Because if you see a ghost, like, is that only in your imagination or is it out there? And here's the thing, is that it's both. Your imaginal senses or your thoughts, your feelings, your state are how you are interfacing with that non-physical entity, because it's not physical communication, right? They're not speaking with a voice. They're not touching you with hands. We can have things that are really close to that because we can hear them psychically. We can see them psychically. It's still not physical. So it is all telepathy or a state to state kind of communication. And since we can manage our state, then we can manage the state of being able to receive that entity or not. So even if you don't cross them into the light or they refuse to cross into the light, you can excuse them from your environment. They don't have the right to be noticed or seen by you. Does it mean they leave? Probably, because the reason that they're hanging out there is because they're fascinated, even fixated on being in the physical realm somehow. They're no longer in the physical realm, but the reason they haven't departed is because they want to have contact with the physical realm. So you could also just ignore them. You truly could. Yeah.
That's my question.
Mhm,
So I've heard you say, well, you hear mediums say all of the time, "Oh,
mhm.
they won't leave me alone. I like was going crazy. I was seeing
And
everything
so
everywhere.
it
I looked
is,
at my cabinet."
right?
Right.
That's permission.
And then I've heard you be like, "Well, no, you can just choose not to interact
Mhm.
with that." And so I don't have many ghost stories. And for people that don't have ghost stories versus people that do, is it a frequency that they're in at the time? Is it just a location that they're in? Or is it a choice that they're subconsciously or consciously making, or all of the above?
Yes, 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 yes. Any combination or maybe all of them. So I love all of those questions. So let's break them down. Your first one was, do you remember what your first
A
one was?
frequency. So, for
Yeah.
example, sometimes people that are drinking
Mhm,
or
mhm,
having some type of mental episode, they start to see things around
mhm.
them. But I'm not
Yeah.
noticing the same thing. I remember this time I was in downtown LA, and there was just like a lot of dark energy around, and people were getting attacked by some mentally unstable people. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to raise my frequency. I'm going to raise my frequency. I'm going to be like, I am
Mhm.
love, I'm love, I'm in love. And it was like, it's like they couldn't see me. It was like this weird
Yeah.
where I felt like we were in kind of different realities. Um,
100%. Mhm.
so I wonder if, like, is the fact I don't have a lot of ghost stories because maybe that's going on some level, or like when I went to Edinburgh Castle, I I was like, I got to get out of this dungeon. It is dark, it is dense, I can't breathe. And so is it like I just don't choose to be in some of these spaces, or is it like I'm not a medium and so that's not happening to me?
Anyone can be a medium, anyone can choose to be a medium, but, Carson, you're a hypnotherapist, and we work with people's suggestibility. That means their inclination to be tapped into energies. Carson, you are an empath, and in your human design chart, we know that you have a defined head and ajna, so your mind is defined. So what you are signaling with that aspect of your energy is more your own. You can use that to reach out, but the default of like what you're seeing and hearing and picking up on in those liminal states from that aspect of your energy is basically it's a default to turned off, if you will. Now, your emotional center, you got it, right? You got it.
Yeah,
Your
so I could
emotional.
feel the density, but I'm
Yeah.
not like seeing or hearing
Yeah.
thoughts in my head. I'm like, oh God, it feels terrible in here. I got to get out.
Yes. And so your default energy for your emotional aspect of your state, the default is turned on, receptive, open, receiving. Now, that doesn't mean now beliefs or curiosity or habits can shift either one of those to a different default. So let's say you have a mind of how you see things of the non-physical. And when I say non-physical, I mean picking up other people's thoughts, human people thoughts too. I mean, like
Mhm,
incarnated
mhm,
people thoughts too.
mhm.
If you have a belief that or a choice that you want to experience other people's thoughts or you want to experience spirits, then if you have that belief, you can use that defined mind as a tool. And so you can choose to even have it default so that you are listening most of the time, you know?
So, do you think someone could come to a hypnotherapist and say, hey, I want to believe that I'm more psychic, and
Yeah.
work with those suggestions? And then suddenly that's
Yeah.
online more because the belief is there.
Yeah. And well, that's what I mean, that's
Because
what you did with me in all of the classes that you've been in.
and
Right?
so would you say that in terms of the veil,
Mhm.
we are being conditioned, aka taught beliefs that this is our reality, that there is nothing beyond us. And so uh, we've been suggested to by society, by our parents, not to believe, and so
Mhm.
we don't. And so you could do the opposite, a deconditioning process
Yeah.
to believe, to see.
Exactly. And not only is it that maybe we were conditioned specifically, there isn't anything else, but it's also like children who are raised to continue to understand that there is a beyond, you know what I mean? That there is non-physical. They might keep that online for a while, but then when they're 8, 10, 11, 12, or they're teens, they're like, wait, this physical world's really important. So I'm going to stop paying so much attention, whether consciously or
Mm,
not. So
mhm.
they shift to paying more attention to the physical world because they have to figure out how to survive here and
Right.
not just by living with their parents. So they got to start paying attention to physical world society. And that's why a lot of people's gifts kind of, if they were aware of their abilities when they were younger, or they remember them, they might kind of like move away from them a little bit while they're a teen, 20s or something like that. And here's the other thing, some people don't as much, or maybe they are actively interested in it and so they even enhance them during that time period. Those are kind of the people that are like, or it has to do with their suggestibility, how they receive information. And so they're
Okay.
like, I've been born psychic. Everyone is born psychic. So
Mhm.
anyway, go ahead. You have a question or comment?
Yes, it is
Mhm.
a short tangent about suggestibility,
Okay.
and it has to do with hauntings, but then we'll get right back to talking to ghosts
Explain what
because
suggestibility is to the for the
I
audience. Yeah.
so how suggestible we are.
Yeah, it's how we receive information. It's just your well, it's either by nature or nurture. We have a default of how we receive information, what we're more open to receiving. Like Carson is an empath, so emotional information she's very open to as a default. And then she is less vulnerable, less by default open to the thoughts energy or the hearing energy of the non-physical, but she can turn that on and she can turn this off, right? She can turn one on off and however she wants. So that's
Because I have a
suggestibility.
defined head, defined mind when we're talking about human design
Hmm.
and an open emotional center.
Exactly.
Um, so this is great because I wanted to talk about my particular suggestibility. So I did some homework for this subject and watched this documentary that Tricia had said she'd watched about hauntings. It's called
Hmm.
True Hauntings
True
or
Hauntings, yeah, on
True Hauntings.
Netflix. Yeah.
And I'm starting to watch it and I can feel myself just starting to get scared. And I'm like, okay, they are they are manipulating you. They are giving you suggestions. Count yourself out. So I had to physically remove myself. And I started thinking about the people that actually like to watch this stuff,
Uh-huh.
like to watch horror. And it used to be like that I would say, I don't watch that because I think it's low vibrational and I don't want that in my life. But at the same time, I'm like, or is that what I've decided about it? And it's made me fearful, which feels low vibrational because fear is the opposite of love. Whereas some people might actually not be so suggestible, not be taken into it,
Mhm.
and be able to enjoy it, think it's
Mhm.
funny, think it's fun.
Mhm.
Um, and I had to keep counting myself out, keep being like, this is not real in order to not turn it off and be like, oh my God, something's in the room with me. It's like I get hypnotized by this and
Yeah.
I start to either imagine or be tuned into that where I'm like, oh, like
It's
what's going on?
both, right? It could be
Yeah,
just you imagining it. It could be you imagining it, therefore an entity shows up, says, "Oh, she wants to see us because she started to
right,
imagine us." Mhm.
right, right, right.
So it's both. That's the thing is that we go, "Wait, is it just my imagination or am I crazy? Or is it out there and it has power?"
Mm,
It's symbiotic. And I
yeah.
have a funny okay, wait. There was another thing I wanted to say. Here so far as maybe if you don't know human design or you don't know suggestibility, but we do know that some people their prefrontal like our prefrontal cortex is like it can vary in its size. So a person with a smaller prefrontal cortex tends to be a person who's like a daredevil. They want to base jump, they want to jump out of airplanes, like they crave those really heightened experiences. Someone like me, my husband and I joke that I have a full frontal cortex because
You
because
don't
I'm
want
like,
to do that.
ugh, like I pass out on roller coasters, not because I'm scared, because I'm so sensitive. You know what I mean? Physically sensitive is, and it's like I really do think I have a really large prefrontal cortex. So that's another thing you can kind of think about how we're different one to another.
Right. So you're completely open in your
Hmm.
human design as a
Hmm.
reflector.
Hmm.
Can you talk to like I'm 50-50. Is that what's making me more suggestible when I watch things? Or are you just like how? Because I watch a movie and suddenly I'm in that. If I don't count myself out, that is how I see my whole day. It's depressing. Everything's blue. I'm like looking, I'm like, why is everything gray and blue? Where I like, I'm in
Hmm.
it forever, which is probably why I don't watch horror or anything
Yeah.
stressful, because then that's the reality I'm living in for the rest of the day, unless I actively decide not to, which I
Well, you
can't.
know what? So here's the thing. So I'm a reflector. All of my centers are undefined. It's all open. And that yes, the undefined centers in human design are more vulnerable to conditioning, generally speaking, more vulnerable to receiving outside energies. However, defined centers, you can, as we've talked about before, if you take an energy in, it can kind of loop around in there more. You know what I mean? Like as you're processing it and you start to hyper process and you start to process it again. And so what is interesting is that when you have defined next to undefined, it's almost like they put pressure on one another.
Mm.
So the undefined energy centers can put pressure on the defined energy centers because it's like giving it a lot of energy to process. Then the undefined around an open center can be like the open center is like, oh my gosh, this is all I am. You know what I mean? Because it's got such a sensitivity to it around the rest of the system. As a reflector, yes, I do. You go, oh, you must be the most sensitive because I have all of those centers open. Yes, and it's also the most resilient. There's something else about my aura that just kicks everything out unless I hold on to it. So when I watch a ghost story or I watch a movie, I kind of choose to get into it. I can feel myself choosing to get into it. When I watch a ghost story, I'm sitting there like a bitch, and I'm like, they're doing it wrong. That's not how it goes the whole time. And none of it scares me. The music doesn't scare me. I'm just like, now they've got the paranormal guys in here and they're just gonna act like jerks to the ghosts. And the poor ghosts are lost. What are they doing? And my husband's like, wait, I don't even understand what's happening. It's just a day at work for me. Yeah, I was telling, so we had some spirits in my studio here. This, I know it looks like a living room. I have it designed that way, but it's a post-production audio studio. I have a bunch of different, colleagues and neighbors within this building. And even before I moved in, there were spirits. Even before, I didn't bring them in. That sounded like even before, because I brought in some. I don't bring them in. And my landlady, she asked me after I moved in and she goes, oh, do you see the ghosts? And you've heard me say this before, Carson. I was like, no, they don't get to be seen by me, like a snob, like a spiritual snob. But the thing is that I have seen them, and I've been seeing one in particular more than the other. And so I let her know I was going to cross over.
What shifted with you?
Well, there's a few things that could have shifted. First of all, I do have an agreement with my gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is a kind of spirit guide that you appoint. And I've told my gatekeeper that, basically my default is I'm only seeing spirits when I turn it on, and when it's absolutely useful for me and for whoever else I might be serving. Except for, and so there's a caveat, and my gatekeeper knows that if I am the best one to help that discarnate spirit or whatever, or to help whatever kind of spirit that is, basically she can allow them in, and it's a kind of tapping me on the shoulder, like, hey, I still have a choice. I can still say no, but she understands my intention about, like, hey, I'm here to help though. So this one has been showing up more. That's one reason, I think. The other reason is because I've been hearing my neighbors here talk about her a lot. I mean, it could be any combination of that. But when I saw her a few times and I happened to mention it to, people here, and they're like, ooh, what is that? That's so cool. I want to hear about it. And I was like, it's not a big deal. I just saw her. She was walking along. She was wearing a black and white thing. And they're like, wow, that's cool. And I was like, no, it wasn't. It was just like not a big deal. But I did let her know. I was like, next time I see you, we're going to cross you over. And I haven't seen her since. So she either crossed.
She doesn't want to, or.
Yeah, she either crossed over just by me telling her, talking about that, or yeah, she doesn't want to. Why is what you're saying? Yeah. She doesn't want to. She would have already. The reason spirits don't, the reason people who are no longer have physical bodies don't cross over usually has to do with some beliefs that it's scary, it's dangerous, some beliefs they had in life, because we don't change without a body. We don't change until or unless we cross over. And that's when healing and evolution can continue. So that they may actually, literally, it's just like human consciousness. Maybe they saw one of the stupid TV shows that says, I have unfinished business and I have to solve a murder. And I'm like, no, you couldn't not be murdered with a body. You don't have any more information. You need to cross over, become a spirit guide, and then you can help. And I'm saying it kind of, I'm very compassionate. I mean, like, very much. That's why I actually get mad at these stories when they're giving bad information, because these are actual people who are lost. So it could be she's afraid. It could also sometimes the spirits that the former humans that stay here, they don't know to cross over, or they like see it and they ignore it because everybody sees it. And when they ignore it, then maybe they could be fixated on the physical realm for some reason. They could have been involved in drugs or arguments or anger or these dense energies that make us a little bit more fixated on what's going on in the human realm. So either way, they're attached emotionally, mentally to the human physical realm. And so, yeah.
Did you connect with this one at all or just see her? We don't know anything about her.
I have just seen her a few times because every time I've seen her, and she's probably pretty clever this way, every time I've seen her, I've been busy. So I haven't had time to stop and like focus on her. But I haven't seen. And so yeah.
So would you say mediums with an intention of this is what I do, this is who I see, I help people are going to see more because that intention is there and they know, hey, you can help me. But just as easily, they can have the intention to have a gatekeeper to say, I don't want to see you right now. I cannot help you. You do not belong here. Whatever. You don't have to be haunted or bothered.
Right. And so, Lori, who's in our community, and she's a medium, and she, like early in her spiritual development, the person who taught her basically taught her that there were a lot of discarnate energies that needed to be crossed over. And that was like Lori. I'm sorry, Lori, if you're listening. I don't mean to tell your story if I'm telling it wrong, but I'm kind of paraphrasing what I've heard Lori say. And so then, and at first she was like, I don't really want this, but like she kind of had this context, this paradigm, like, well, this is what you have to do. So then now where she is, I was like, Lori, I think you have like a kind of a mission to do that because she crosses over a lot of discarnates. They find her. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I think so. I think I really, like I not enjoy like it's fun, but like it's a heart service that she is providing. I could turn it on and I could be on the game if I wanted to of crossing over all the time, but I just have different priorities. Jason says, don't they know they are ghosts for the most part? They're that's a good question. It's like, how do I phrase this? It's like asking someone, don't they know they're being unreasonable? Maybe sometimes. And then I double down into my unreasonability because I'm like, but I want to be more unreasonable until you bend to my will, universe. It's always us fighting with the universe. I think that's what it's like. But sometimes, yeah, I think they probably do understand, like they can feel that. I mean, it's very obvious. Wow, I no longer have a body. People can't see me, but they become I shouldn't say they do. Some are more scared and don't know what to do. And everything they see just scares them, including the light. It's really sad when a little child gets lost because they don't know what to do. And otherwise, a person who's more mature maybe doubles down on their obsession with the physical. And they're like, there was this one, it was my friend's family member who, I don't want to tell anybody's story. I don't think anybody will be able to tell who this is. So it was a friend's family member, and the family member committed suicide. And that's obviously we can all imagine that's a very intense way to go. What kind of agony you must be in mentally and emotionally to do that. And this friend said, when telling me about it, immediately I was there because this was a very close friend. And the family member who was passed was in the house and was just like furious and like watching them literally clean up the scene. It was terrible. And saying like, F you, it's none of your business. Like he was still just so mad because he was like everything that he had felt and like people crying is like, get over it. Like he was feeling that way while he was around the family while they were, he was really defensive basically. And then I don't know what happened because that was just what I saw, a flash of it. That's what I remember. I think that person probably did move on. I think they crossed over. But at first there was a lot of obstinance but yeah, some people and it doesn't, I mean, it's interesting because sometimes people don't have any beliefs about what happens when you pass, but they feel it and they're like, this is awesome. That looks cool. I'm going to go. You know what I mean? Or they don't even know they're making the choice. They just kind of like, once again, it must come down to suggestibility, personality, momentum of your energy when you're a human, and you carry that. Just when you don't have a body, you carry it through.
So
You know?
just like humans are able to talk to their guides and connect
Mhm.
into their psychic gifts, do ghosts have the ability to see spirit that's crossed over and be told, "Hi, you could come here if you want." Like,
Well,
do they ever
everybody,
do it on their own?
yes, they can make the choice to see. That's what happens when a medium crosses one over.
Mhm.
So yes, when you cross, excuse me, when you die, when you depart from the physical, there's going to be some kind of intermediary moment. Maybe it's a half a second, maybe it feels like a half a second, maybe it could feel longer. I don't People with near death experiences often find themselves immediately transitioning. But if you don't have that momentum, then I actually had an OBE. I was going to talk about it we're going to have another podcast on Wednesday. I had an OBE where I was in the after death experience. So, and I didn't cross over. And it was the moments of not seeing the light. And I was very lonely. And yeah, I mean, I'll tell the whole story about that. But I was a true OBE of what happens after you die for me. So, the thing is that just like humans who shut down, talking to spirit, understanding their guides are there, understanding the universe is supporting you, they presumably if a person is not crossed over, it's because they've shut that down. So
Mm,
it's not much different. So they aren't seeing that when they've shut it down, when they've said no to it. And then a medium says, listen. And so to the point of what you do when you see a ghost, if you're a medium, what you don't do is say, hey, do you have a message for me? No. Not anymore, that you would walk up to a stranger in the grocery store and say, do you have a message for me? They're like, what do you mean? I'm shopping. Meanwhile, the lost person is just like, my message is whatever is keeping me, whatever confusion I have. Like, so it's not, they're
it
not more.
reminds me of when
Yeah.
you talk about animal communication, and I don't remember what animal came, and you were like, "Do you have a message for me?" And they're like, "Do you have a message for
Yeah.
me?"
Rude. Like, why do I have to do all the work in this conversation? Yeah. It was a butterfly.
Yeah.
The butterfly was like, what? Oh, look, I'm making butterfly wings with my arms. How rude of you. Why don't you give me a message, lady? White lady on the trail. So, so yeah, they don't. In fact, they're in a state where they're not connected. They don't have more wisdom or experience because even if they did in their physical life, right now they're lost. And so this is like and over the summer I got lost in the San Gabriel Mountains here in Los Angeles. Didn't have any water. I didn't have any food, and
Service.
I was lost, and I had lost the path.
No
And
phone service too for a while.
no phone service. I was every now and again getting a satellite link so I could text my husband and tell him I was lost. So I was properly lost, and I was just sitting there, but some young man with water, a digital map, and food, and knew exactly where he was going. He was off trail, but he knew exactly how to cut across it because he had a digital map. He found me. So I'm lost. I'm, so many hours way past my fitness zone to be there. And what if he'd come up to me and said, what do you think we should do?
Not helpful.
I'm exhausted. I don't have water or a map. Why would I be the one guiding this experience? It's literally like that.
Yeah.
So we don't go, what message do you have for me? We also don't say, why won't you cross over? Oh, I have a mystery to solve. No, they don't. They've gotten lost. It's the same thing.
Mm,
You might pick up some of their story though, of what it is that just by what you see though, how they're presenting, like what they're
mhm.
wearing or what energy they have. And that might be helpful for you to go like, okay, listen, to care about them, but you also don't have to do that. I keep it as simple as possible.
Direct.
I give them love, and I say, listen, you remember when you saw the light? And a lot of times when I say that, they go like, what do you mean? How do you know that? Like they have this like, how, because that scared them so much, they shut it down really hard. And I was like, yes, that was real. Did you see your loved ones? Well, It's that kind of thing because they think, well, it was something tricking me. It wasn't
Mhm.
really my grandmother or whatever. That was real. And everyone gets to go and receive healing. And I really feel it, like how this is, everyone gets that. Everyone gets that. And that's what you need to do.
It's kind of like back to the analogy with hiking. You're going up to someone who's in fight or flight. Like you don't
Yes.
need to have a full conversation. If you are direct and
Yeah.
grounded and loving, you want
Yes.
to get right to the point. Like, let's get right to the healing. I,
Totally.
I don't have the energy for anything else. Help me. Like, what's the answer? Save me.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened with me. The guy who helped me, who saved me, his name was Drew. And I was like, "Hi, hi." I was like, I'm lost." And he was like, "Okay, come with me." And we were like walking for about 5 minutes. And I was like, "Is this a trail?" And he's like, "I know it doesn't look like it, but if I didn't have this map, I wouldn't even know. Here's some water." He gave me water. And it was like after he gave me water and after we started moving, he goes, "I'm Drew." You know what I mean? Like we didn't even do names first
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
less important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was so kind, not to derail it too much, but this is the kindness that and I was nervous. I was following behind him. I text my husband. I was like, I think I'm with someone who can help me. He's probably not going to hurt me. Like,
But beyond actually, like, giving you something to help, he's giving you that frequency. He's coming
Mhm,
in there and being like, "Here,
mhm.
let me give you some of this." And it's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna calm you down. You can do the same thing."
Yeah. And we got over to the shade and he goes, We can sit here." He goes, "Why don't you I have some food?" He's like, "I'll sit here for an hour." He was so sweet. "I'll sit here for an hour with you." Again, don't know anything about each other. He's just giving me water with like electrolytes in it, just being kind, compassionate, but on task. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes I sit with ghosts and I don't open it up to dialogue, but I sit there with just basking light and I ask for Archangel Azrael to come. And I'm just holding the most important thing, which, like you're saying, grounded,
Mm.
compassionate. And the reason I asked Spirit a long time ago, I was like, why can't angels just come scoop them up and take them over? And they're like, well, first of all, you need to make your own choice. Everybody has their own sovereignty and their own free will, even when you don't have a body anymore.
Mhm.
Second of all, um, they're fixated on the human realm. So they're looking at you. And
Mm.
that's how we can be a part of it. It would be very helpful. And so that's what we need to do is to lovingly and the thing is if they sometimes I see them cross, sometimes I see the light and I feel them and see them cross. Sometimes I hold that space for as long and I'll be talking to my guides. I'm like, is this good? And then I'll just pray and close the channel, meaning I don't see them anymore. And then later, like maybe the next day or something, I'll ask my guides, did they cross or is it important for me to even know if they crossed? Like maybe it's none of my business because I gave unconditional love. That means I gave it. It's no longer my
Yeah.
business. And
Love that.
sometimes they'll tell me, yeah, they did cross and they'll maybe even play a little movie of how it happened, or they'll just be like, you're good. Let's just keep praying. They'll sometimes ask me, just keep praying, a few more days. Like usually I get a little prescription, like if you pray for 3 days and then release it completely.
Oh, that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
is this going to be happening for all of us? The possibility, is it going to feel easier? Is it going to feel like what's happening right now with the veil that this
Oh,
might
right.
be happening more?
Because Jason says, but why
Mhm.
is there a thinned veil? What about the season's astrological makeup of this at a thin time? I don't know. I get it. I think it was a typo, but so it or maybe makes it
A
a
thin
thin
time.
time. Oh
A
yeah, that
thin
is
time.
me. That was
I was
not
like,
a
that
typo.
makes sense to me.
Okay, yeah. I'm being weird. So what makes it a thin time? It's like seasons, it's like astrological weather, it really is again as above, so below. The way that sometimes we hear the birds sing more loudly than other times. We are but this time, okay, this is really this time of the thin veil, because in the northern hemisphere, we're in autumn, fall. Southern hemisphere, they're in spring. And this is we don't call spring a thinned veil, even though there's a liminal thing going on, but it's almost like it's the polar opposite. There's a becoming happening. When
Mm.
here on the physical plane here, the earth, the trees, the plants, you know, things are dying. Things are in dematerialization energy, and everything is one. And so we are tapped into that energy. And humans have to be like, even though we don't really live seasonally, like we go to the grocery store, we always have fresh food there, but our bodies are still tuned to needing to hunt, gather, harvest, and store, right? That's still what we would feel. And our bodies, our cellular communication still picks up on that, is aware of that. And well, we've actually recreated it because it's like, I hope we have enough money for Christmas gifts. You know what I mean? Like we are still thinking of storing things in order to be able to move through the season, right? So we're tapping into the death cycle. And that's why this veil is thin. That's what I feel about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it gives me chills because I've been seeing a lot of bears recently,
Mm-hmm.
preparing for hibernation, just going
Yeah.
around munching, getting fat.
Yeah. Me too. I'm really preparing to sleep for like a month.
Wouldn't that be nice? Jason had another question. I feel like there are two scenarios: seeing a ghost that doesn't see you and having a ghost enter and try and interact with your field. Can you
Mm-hmm.
compare these?
Yeah, and so nature example showed up for me in that too. One time there was this wild cat, literally. So wild cats, European cats. Like we have lynx and ocelots are like the big cats here in the United States and specifically Southern California that are wild versions of larger cats. And then we have domesticated cats. But the wild version of those cats are not actually cats. They're like lynx or ocelots. So I don't know. It's interesting. But the European cat, it really looks like a domestic cat, but kind of larger, And they don't live here on this continent. So I did see one on my back porch, which means someone had an exotic pet or an exotic animal that they were not supposed to have here, and everybody's heard about that. Someone is irresponsible and they get some kind of animal that's supposed to be wild. And so clearly, because I took video of it, I took pictures of it, I took a video of it crying, and I sent it to some experts. They're like, oh, we need to try to trap that. It can't be in this ecosystem. Like it can't live here, and who knows what it could do. You know what I mean? But anyway. So it came around my house like twice. So I'm an animal communicator, and it was on my porch crying, yelling, yelling, yelling. And I was like trying to communicate with it. And all I could do was hear it say, lost, scared, alone, lost, scared, alone. It was very much like a
Yeah.
ghost, right? But it couldn't receive me because it was too panicked. And I couldn't connect with him at all. I could just get into his energy and just hear what his cries and what everything was about. So that's an example of one that can't see you because it's too in its own world. And by the way, if you think about it, they could have had a mental illness when they passed too, or just been really stressed out. Have you ever tried to talk to someone who was so in fight flight and you're like, listen to me, listen to me. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Or
Yep.
someone who has some kind of dissociative disorder or Alzheimer's or a cognitive, kind of any of those things are possible too. So they're carrying those same patterns, even though they don't have a brain, a physical brain, the same patterns are moving forward. And then the ones that are trying to interact with us, we kind of, talked about those. They're fixated on the human realm, and
Mhm.
they might be bored, as I discovered, like,
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah. I was talking to one of my neighbors here, and I said something to the effect, and again, pardon me, I do have a lot of compassion for ghosts and discarnates. And I said something like, I was like, well, if you start paying attention to them, then you're going to see them more. They're attention whores. Like, they really need and want attention from
I mean, it's
this
like
realm.
anything in
Yeah,
life, you pay attention to it and it comes into
exactly.
your awareness more.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. So I was
Mhm.
thinking about, okay, a ghost that has like old clothing, and I'm like, what's it been doing for hundreds of years? Time, okay, this is a two-parter question. Is time the same? Because I know crossed over, time's very, very different. But if you're just a human discarnate, are they experiencing, like, are they here for hundreds of years? But also energy patterns. And so the difference, and how can you tell the difference between a ghost and energy patterns that are stuck in a loop in there?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah. So, is time the same? N not y No, because time is relevant to being physical because you are
Mm,
born and you die.
yeah.
So time isn't the same. The thing that is happening as things progress is that their energy, their thought patterns, their energy patterns, the momentum of it are continuing, and they're likely some things are petering out and other things are becoming more intensified. So they actually, in a way, become more distorted and more simpler in the nuances of the personality that is still going on. And some major things, you know what? Honestly, it's like, I don't know if you've ever if you've ever known a person really advanced in age, or several people advanced in age, like like the first time I was really close to a very old person who was like in her like 90 years old. She was a lovely, sweet person most of her life. And so like she had become all she was sweet. And she didn't have a lot of other depth going on. She had just become even sweeter. And then I also knew this other older person, again, and she had been really, I'm sorry to say, she'd been really racist and bitter. She was all bitterness and racism.
Mm.
And so, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of, again, similar to, because when we're old, our bodies are disintegrating, right? So the connection to having things manifest physically is loosening. So then if you have no physical body, then okay, so the physical body and the spiritual bodies, if you will, they are correlated and they're interdependent. However, the physical body can exist without the spirit for a certain amount of time. And this is something I learned when my father passed. He was in the hospital, and he was in another state, and he left his body and he couldn't get back into it. But he was on machines and stuff. His body was on machines. And he couldn't get back into his body, and he was panicked. So he showed up to me. He showed up to my I'd already talked to him and said, telepathically, and said, if you need anything, you can come and I'll help you. And so he took me up on it, and he showed up, and he was panicked. He was freaking out. And long story short, it's a good long story for another time, but I crossed him over. But his physical body wasn't dead yet.
Mm.
It hadn't gone. Well, first of all, they were keeping it. They had him on a respirator. So they had some artificial, sustenance of his physical body. But even when they unplugged him, it was like an hour or something like that before he moved on. So I asked Spirit, I was like, what happened there? Because my sister also called me like right at the time that he crossed over. And I was like, I just crossed over. She's like, that's why I was calling you. I could feel it, because my sister's very psychic as well. And Spirit showed me, they were like, well, look, if you parked your car in the driveway, put it in park, but left the engine running and got out, it would run for a while, but it wouldn't have a driver. And eventually the energy of that physical vessel would run out.
Yeah.
But the spiritual, that energy, it's still in this physical, non-physical, that first layer, like the fourth dimension. What that is mental and emotional without the purpose of physical reality. So that's why it has to move on to the purpose of the eternal reality. So what's happening there is, there can be a lot more distortion. So you said, what about energy patterns, things that aren't humans? Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, it's not so people are like, oh my God, the house is haunted, but it's not an actual discarnate spirit. It's actually something that went on there, and it was like such a big thing that it's like this looping pattern.
Yeah.
Like you can feel it, but and maybe you even feel like it's haunted, but it's not a person haunting it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a glitch or a loop impressed on the, yes. And that has to do with the humans who are creating it. Like it's called egregore when it's a collective thought form. So there are certain famous haunted places, and it's like everybody sees a woman walking up the stairs, and that's all they see is woman walking up the stairs. And that's all it is. It's like a film strip that is on replay, but people are expecting it and creating it together. So, it maybe could have been at one point a woman walking up the stairs. Maybe one time it was. I don't know. I definitely don't want to like claim to know everything, but or what if it is the residue of an actual discarnate like that, but she has moved on, whether to the light or just like, again, disintegrated to some degree.
So can you sage out energy like that?
Yes, saging is especially energy like that, especially things that are just, oh, can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Oh, my battery ran out, which is so funny because I actually just changed it. So, I can hear you, though. I just hear you from another speaker.
Okay.
Actually, why don't you talk to them for a second? Because saging.
Yeah, I'm
Explain
curious.
what saging is while I'm just grabbing my batteries over here.
Sage is an herb, and it's one of the many different energy cleansing. And I'll ask Tricia this because she said she can hear me. I feel like she taught once that sage clears out all energy, but something like Palo Santo adds in
Yes, light.
good energy, light.
Right. So yes, sage clears energies. And so like if you've had if you had people over and maybe somebody got in an argument, it's not because there's it, you know, I mean, like nothing bad's going to happen. It would probably go anyway. But if you sage, then that will be excused. That will be released. But yeah, like a ghost, a discarnate. If you sage, it will go away. It will be clean for a little bit. And so this is something when we were watching that show, True Hauntings. My husband had actually already watched it. And then I was watching it and he was like watching it with me. And so he goes, and they're starting to sage. And I was like, oh, if they only say, I was like talking, I was like griping. I was like, if they only sage, it's only going to piss them off. And he goes, that's what happened. How did you know that? He doesn't really mean, how'd you know that? But that's the urge.
Is it like doing like bear spray at them and they're like, oh, go away for a second, but now I'm mad.
Yeah, I still smelled the food on you.
Yeah.
So I'm still coming after you, but now I'm pissed. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So with a really, like in that True Hauntings, it was a really motivated discarnate who had been engaged in interacting with the humans. And so they did have in that show, they saged and they did some prayers and they're like, you have to leave. But here's the thing, they didn't really, like, they just kind of, it was almost like they said, get out right now. Like they honestly didn't know that they could say, you cannot be here ever, ever. You need to cross into the light, but it's like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You know, that's what you say when you kick someone out of a bar. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, they didn't, it was like not enough. And the thing about using sage, when I use sage, I like to then use sage, which clears, and then I use something like Palo Santo, or you could use sweetgrass too. Then bring something in that calls in. So like you clear out, and then you call in, and then put the light there, and that'll help to really like set in the energy and uplift it in a fresh way. But in addition to doing the saging, they also, I think in that literal story, what eventually happened was they called a medium, and the medium was like, get out. And I think she was telling me to cross over and stuff too.
Oh, not to the people. That she wasn't like move. She was telling the spirit, get out. The
spirits, yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you think that all spaces are redeemable then?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It just depends on the beliefs that humans are bringing into it. You know, because the awareness.
I went and I saw a house when we were looking for houses to move into, and it was just so dense. It was like the air wasn't moving. The energy wasn't moving. It was so dense and not like dark evil, but like dense.
Well, maybe, but maybe you just don't click with it. That's the other thing too, right? That's another.
Yeah. I mean, something was up. Up. But like, I would just be like, okay, I'm not going to live here. But yeah. I guess someone else could come in and be like, okay, let's.
Yeah. Yes. This. And I mean, we're talking about the whole planet. I mean, maybe some things are shifting around and it's like, you know, okay, here's another sad example. In Santa Monica here in Los Angeles in Southern California, apparently there was some kind of some people from in other states or other part of the state, like it wasn't people, I think it was actually the government. They gave some unhoused people like a bus ticket and said, you should go to Santa Monica. You can panhandle there and it's really great. And so they just, you know what I mean? They didn't take care of the problem of these people who need support. They just moved it over. So we got a lot of stuff on this planet and in these humans, I should say. Noise Jason say, do you think that some of those scenes of ghosts that people have seen are transferred from people to people so that they are seeing what is suggested? Yes, absolutely. So I told you that if I were to see the woman ghost in this place, I told her I was going to cross her over. And I didn't tell my neighbors here because my one neighbor, he works here overnight a lot, and he says that sometimes he gets so afraid because they slam doors and stuff like that, that he'll hear him in the night, and he gets so afraid that he locks himself in his studio until the sun comes up because he's scared. And I was like, well, I can cross them over. And he goes, oh, well, I mean, no, I'm scared, but it's also kind of interesting and fun. I know, right?
I'd be like, get him out.
Yeah. So if I do see her again, I'm going to invite her to cross over, and then I'm going to tell my neighbors here I moved her out, because if I don't, even if she crosses over and they're like, ooh, we have ghosts, another ghost could come in and occupy that space because they really want to see a ghost. So I'm going to let them know that I did cross her over. Maybe then their little invitation will be turned off. Yeah. Does that make sense to what Jason asked?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, we're having so much fun.
Yeah, I love it. I think people are going to like it.
Yeah. Oh, and Kate says, hi, Kate. Nice to see you.
She says, hi, Tricia and Carson. We say hi, Kate.
Oh.
Oh, wait. Well, yeah.
I cut off the sentence. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been a great episode. I had other things planned, but I think we had a lot of fun as it is. Don't you think?
Yeah. And the other ones are still going to be topical.
Well, the only thing I wanted to ask is everyone. So Carson is a hypnotherapist and an intuitive. And tell us the kind of work that you are doing, because I want to make sure people know that you are a projector, and you need a projector in your life, y'all. And you need one who is enlightened and skilled and intuitive to change your life. You really need a projector. So tell us about the work that you're doing and how people can work with you.
Yeah, I do spiritual coaching. I always will have hypnotherapy at the end of every session. It might be teaching you to tune into your magic, to your power, seeing signs, synchronicities, just making life magical and fun. And it could be this thing is really bothering me in my life. I'm having this conflict, this belief, this way that I'm tired of being, I'm ready to let go of, and this is what I want to step into. So I'll use human design to be like, here's your power, here's who you came here to be, and then here are the ways that like aren't conflicting with this, and this is more conditioning. So let's decondition and let's step into that power. And that's also weave in your intuition and your sovereignty and who you are, so that you can live the life of your dreams. And that could be just laundry sitting in your way, or that could be relationship stuff. It really just depends on, I teach you to work with the universe to see what's showing up, because if it's showing up, it's ready to move. You're aware of it. That's the first step. So yeah, it's a whole, I really liked working with people like in containers and having this be like a process where we work together for a while to shift your entire life.
So book with Carson, everyone. You can book to do a consultation or a clarity call to see if you guys are a match. And I wanted to share that we have a really great workshop coming up on October 30th. It's the day before Halloween, and it's going to be a beautiful ritual and ceremony for Samhain, which is the pagan festival around Halloween. Excuse me, it's actually where we got Halloween, that plus the Dia de los Muertos in the Latin Americas. And so we're going to talk about Samhain, and then also we're going to connect with ancestors, and I'm going to be bringing my drum. We're going to have drumming.
And this is through Modern Mystic?
That's right. Yeah. So Modern Mystic is the beautiful subscription platform community. It is, but we have 2 live events per month. We have a live group meditation. We just had a really rad one on this past week. I can't remember what day it was, Wednesday or Tuesday or something.
And when you join, do you have access to those meditations?
We do. Yeah. When you join, you have access to, I don't know, it's 50 meditations and past workshops on all kinds of amazing things. And then also you have the 2 live events that you can come to, the live group meditation and the really great esoteric fun workshop that we have every month. And then that one is the one that's with so you can join Modern Mystic, which is only $22 per month. You can subscribe, or you can drop in. And so you can just come just to that workshop. And so both of those are in the description, whether you want to join and access all of that, or if you just want to drop into that really amazing
I'm going to be there. Yeah. I have a lot's going on with 2 little kiddos, but I put that in my calendar the second you announced it. I love I'm always witchy, but I love getting really witchy, earthy,
Yeah.
witchy, spooky fun. Not spooky
That's
scary, because I don't like scary, but spooky magical.
like I'm looking at your shirt. You've got like little haunted mansions on your
Yeah,
shirt.
these are pajamas, but it's the only Halloween thing I have, and I like them, so I'm wearing them.
Yeah, awesome.
But I can't
Just
wait.
well,
Thursday? Next Thursday,
it's
the
Thursday, yes,
30th.
the 30th, the day before Halloween. So yeah. Yeah, check the description for that. And also booking with Carson. Look at my little birdie girl.
Hey,
My
baby
little
girl.
if you guys are listening, because this goes on the podcast too, if you've heard little cheeps,
Ooh,
little chirps,
that's
and
her.
little dances on the microphone, that's my little parakeet, Aliel. But before we sign off, do you have time? I want to do mundane magic if you have a second.
Yeah, tell me about your mundane. I thought you said Monday. I was like, it is Monday.
Is it?
Mundane,
Oh, so it's
Monday magic.
it's Friday.
Oh.
It's a busy mom for you.
Yeah, because it's the weekend. That's fun for me. Feels like Monday.
Yeah, exactly. It's way better than Monday, right? It is mundane magic. This is a segment that we've decided to add in here, mundane magic. And so, talking about some fun things that just happen when you are living a magical life. So, the cool thing that happened, it's all very appropriate for this season. Yesterday, I went and got my hair cut. And so, of course, my my hairdresser is like, we're talking all about spiritual stuff. I asked my hairdresser once, I was like, do you talk to other people about this, all your clients? Because he's spiritual. And he's like, nope, just you. And I was like, the first time I ever had an appointment with them, we were talking about it within 5 minutes somehow. Anyway, so we were talking, I don't know, we were talking about the shows we're watching. So probably the haunting shows come up and everything. And he happened to say like, oh, what about those people who have NDEs, near death experiences? And then they like go to the other side. But when they come back, they have to like go back into their bodies. They're like, oh my God, all this pain. Cause they died of cancer or a car accident. And now they have to, and I was like, yeah, but you can have an OBE and go to the other side without it having to be that your body died. And I've had a few of those. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you can absolutely experience the other side and not have to deal with like recovering from physical death. And he's like, well, that sounds like a better way. So then I was on my walk this morning and I messaged Carson. I was like, hey, can you do a podcast on Wednesday? I think I want to talk about having out of body experiences to, inspired by my conversation with Johnny. Hi, Johnny. And because I think that would be really great. And Carson's like, yeah, that's a great subject. Then I turn on for my walk, I turn on a YouTube video of someone having an NDE. And 15 minutes into that, she goes, there are people who have NDEs or they have the out of body experience and they didn't have to die. So don't let it be limited to only having to die. And I was like, and Carson heard it in real time. I was like, Carson, I've never heard someone give an NDE and actually say that part of it. Like, you don't have to die. Like, you can have this experience without it. So that was an interesting mundane magic moment that I wanted to highlight.
I love it. We're going to start doing this every week because you guys, the more you pay attention, the more you'll see it. But it really, and it does become kind of mundane because it's just daily. I'll be like, yeah, I saw a million numbers, or yeah, I talked about this thing and then it happened and I saw it on a sign and then someone called me about it 5 minutes later. Like, it's just how your life gets to be every day. But we want to talk about it so that you start to notice it and you start to talk about it. And then your friends start to notice it. And then the whole world gets more magical.
Because like you said, wherever we place our awareness, that's what expands. Energy wants to expand, and awareness is energy. It's just like, if you want more money, you need to give it a container into which it can expand, because it doesn't want to come into a container, meaning your awareness or your bank account or whatever, that it's going to feel constricted in. So these things our life is synchronized that way. And by the way, there's a difference too between looking outside of yourself for supposed guidance or trying to go, what am I doing wrong? What is this sign telling me? I'm scared. Like anything, if you're outsourcing your authority, or if you are being afraid of the patterns that you're seeing, that's not the aligned way that you're seeing that you're synchronized. On the other hand, if you see things that are really cool patterns and synchronizations, lean into it, because sometimes we also go like, well, I'm just probably making that up. You know what I mean? Like I'm being too big for my britches. Celebrate it, journal it, tell your best friend or your partner or your mom, and make a big deal out of it because it's there for you.
That's what I love doing with my clients. I'm like, tell me your wildest dreams. You are amazing. Like, let's lift each other up. Let's make it bigger. And then everybody gets lifted up and it gets bigger.
Yeah.
Because we've created that container.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I guess that is it. We got through a lot of fun stuff today. And so remember to check the show notes for all of the really cool things that we have going on. Thank you so much for being here, Carson, with your projector guidance, asking really cool questions. Thank you, Jason, for contributing a lot of really cool questions
Yeah, thanks,
too.
Jason.
And, be sure to, click the bell on my YouTube channel for notifications so that you'll know when we're going to be live and you can join the conversation. If you're listening to the podcast version of it, look down in the show notes. There's like a free animal intuitive course or a free meditation. So there's a free gift for you, but also that will sign you up for my newsletter. You can also find my Instagram, different ways that you'll be able to know when we're going to go live. Generally, we're going to be on Fridays at 2:30 Pacific, but we do special episodes and we're being non-energy types about it. So you don't really know.
Which is good. Trying to live in our design.
Exactly. So you can catch us whenever we're live. So that's what we have for you today. Thank you for shining your light on our beautiful world. And thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.